Welcome to the biggest match in the 14-year history of StarCraft 2. $1 million in prizes at the Esports World Cup 2024. 400,000 of those dollars going to the winner of this finals, this match in front of us right now. And that's why it's not the least bit surprising to be introducing the player widely considered the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. The player who has not lost a single game in a premier tournament finals this entire year. The player from Finland, the finisher. It's Serral. And up against his greatest challenger, one of the few players to actually take one of those games off him this year. A player who's been playing StarCraft 2 for over half of his life. The Frenchman from Team Liquid. It's Clem. A best of 9 Terran versus Zerg Grand Finals to determine who will be the world champion and who is simply the best of the rest. And hopefully, you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a lot of bit better. We couldn't have scripted it better than this. I'd usually use this time at the start of the game to beg you for likes and maybe even subscribes. And the Grand Finals is no exception. Jimmy, what are we? 2,024 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I have no idea what else I would do with my life. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And, well, let's certainly hope it's about to get a little bit better. Serral versus Clem. Command Center already on the way. On the low ground. Reaper poking and prodding as it does, Clem. Like his metaphorical father Beyond. Not his literal father who got him into StarCraft 2. Absolutely obscene with those Reapers. Almost impossible to get anything going until you have Zergling speed, which Serral is just now starting. Somewhat later. Well, I assumed he would start it. He has the gas. 2 command centers already for Clem, expanding faster than the Zerg, which is not exactly a, it's not a rarity. It's a bit on the risky side of things. Here on Crimson Court, it's very hard to actually get a third base reliably as Zerg. You either have to go through the mineral wall, which we saw Clem blocking with the S. No, he can't keep getting away with it. That Reaper at 2 HP gets away, gets the creep tumor, ever the oncologist. And Serral's just going for a lair, a roach warren, taking it out of the page out of Dark's artisanal cheeses. It's a 2-base roach all-in. Clem, he has a pretty solid beat on whether or not Serral's expanded. Well, he doesn't know about the third, but he gets in with the Reaper. Bounces back the Zergling, the Queens. He scouts everything. Overlord speed on the way. And the Hellions into the natural. He's gonna see there's only one gas. Yeah, whose base is this? Like, and he actually gets through. There's no third base here. Clem now knows what he's dealing with. And that's a 2-base Zerg. He comes back in, darts back in with the Hellions with no Zergling speed. There's nothing to stop him, just the Queens, strongly suggesting that the Hellions leave. Serral, the Overlord speed is for Queen drop, which is certainly an interesting choice. Clem doesn't even have a starport done yet, but Serral can't know that. It's not going to be a Banshee. It's not going to be a Liberator. It's just a bunch of Marines. The Queen... Brenda, we're leaving! Our ride's here. We're gonna fly again, Susan. Shh, don't, Brent. We haven't flown since the war. We wouldn't talk about the Brood War, Brenda. Stop it. Sorry. So, a build that's usually used in Zerg versus Protoss to deal with early expansions, Serral now using against Terran. But he's going straight into a bunch of Marines. If Clem was going for your standard 1-1-1, your Hellions into Banshees, there just aren't that many hard-hitting units. And when you provide the anti-air with the Overlord drop, and the Queens, of course. Oh, he's doing the creep drop as well, but Serral's only on 44 drones. We've arrived! Shh! The Queen's in a precarious position. The Overlord, oh no! It's a disaster. Clem just picks off the Overlord, some Ravagers morphing, which takes a little bit more time to gun down. They get a bunch of extra armor, makes them harder to kill in those cocoons, but Clem just shuts down the Overlord like a blue screen computer right there, which I don't know if Clem's ever experienced at his young age, but, well, this has not gone well. Clem feeling confident enough to actually move out. He has that bunker to back things up, and a siege tank will stop this entirely. That siege tank is the end of that. And the Marines, no, Serral's coming back in for more, but he doesn't really have the economy to back this up. He doesn't have the upgrades. The unit composition, Roach Ravager relies on stiff farming, shoving units out of the way. The Queens were here to swat Banshees and maybe a medevac out of the sky, but that has failed on all counts. He hasn't delayed the economy at all. He hasn't really killed very many of the Marines. And right now, Serral is going to be behind, or at least, yeah, slightly behind on upgrades. Zerg and Terran upgrades take the same amount of time. So you can easily tell who's ahead when it comes down to it. And being even on upgrades is not a win for Zerg, with the Roach Ravager composition against someone who can micro, which is absolutely insulting to imply Clem is simply someone who can micro. Clem is the bar, okay? Everyone else is under it. It's the easiest limbo game of all time to get under that bar, because Clem sometimes looks better than some of those like 25,000 APM splitting AIs, because he has that ridiculous brain behind it as well, and he knows when to pick up and run away and when he can turn a fight. The split-second decision-making for Clem is second to absolutely none. Serral, of course, the very same with Zerg, but so far hasn't really had an opportunity to show it. Drops come out again, just right behind the mineral line here on Crimson Court. I'm not surprised to see that sort of early aggression out of Serral. This is a very tough map to deal with tank pushes later in the game. There's so many little ramps and choke points and ups and downs that Terrans love, and Zergs, well, not as much. So starting things off on game one with this kind of risky, all-in sort of timing, I think is good strategically for Serral. But wow, did it fall flat, almost literally, with those Queens getting gunned down inside the Overlord. And now Clem has a pretty comfortable path to put down pressure with continued production. He's ahead in supply against a Zerg player who's mostly on Roach Ravager. That is not a good sign. A hive is on the way, Lurker Den as well. Lurkers certainly can turn the tide. Fungal, but he just dodges back, doesn't hold him down. And the Marines dropping out in the main. Stims again. He wins that fight against the Roaches. Target him down one by one. And, well, Zerglings goes for the Queens. Frenchman assassinates the Queens. Revolutionary idea, but Lurkers still pretty far off. Clem keeping the pressure on. The double-double. Drops on both sides. And really need 3 screens to keep up with this right now, but Clem is the one keeping map control throughout all of it. He's got the drop at the back, anchoring units. He's clearing creep at the front. He's already taken the 4th base. He's working on the Ghost Academy, 2 tanks at a time, 3 more barracks. Clem up 25 supply, and Serral, he tried to get off the ground, but he was shot back down immediately. Another Queen dead. He's killed 5 of them. There's only 3 Queens left. Corrosive Bow dodges away. Loses track of the medevacs in the main. Small win for Serral. Big win for Clem, though. He's able to get into position here, right at the front of the 4th base. A very difficult spot to dislodge. The Overlords are hanging out. Units getting gunned down. Lurkers burrow. He splits. He stims. And Serral, he doesn't have Lurker range. He's going to try to dive on this, but the tanks with the scan will target fire down most of the Lurkers. The Roaches are not enough. And Clem just still has too much standing tall. Game 1. GG. Serral has now lost more games in a Premier Tournament Finals than he has the rest of the year. Clem on fire. That was a combination of Serral's build kind of stacking up poorly against what Clem decided to do, which is the multiple barracks early. Usually, Like 90% of the time, it's 3cc with the 111. But he took a page out of Beyond's book and went for the mass marine build, which works out a lot better when you're dealing with a large amount of units early. It just doesn't have the ability to limit as much or as cheaply. So, Jimmy, game 2. Nope. Clem handling that. I don't think it was so much Serral making big mistakes as he just didn't... There was nothing. There was nothing to take advantage of. There were no mistakes out of Clem. And when you do a committed build, that it costs you something. Not getting a third base means you have less bases. I know. Like and subscribe. Make that number go up, and I'll teach you other basic math skills. So Clem, able to get away with more bases, more economy, and easily translates that into a deadly push quickly and decisively. You want to kill Serral as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean going for an all-in cheese, but being decisive with those early timings. Taking advantage of the fact that Terran units, when controlled near perfectly, are probably the most efficient in the game. And again, we already talked about the bar that Clem is, and Serral just running headlong into it, or tripping over it. I'm not sure which one it was there. Maybe a bit of both. But a tough map. In a best of 9, we get the entire map pool. This is not necessarily a good thing, especially for Zergs. As statistically, the map pool, now Serral is, of course, the most outest of liars. That sounds poor. He is a statistical anomaly, as the Wayne Gretzky of StarCraft 2, but there are some maps, like Crimson Court is pretty rough. Dynasty is another map that there's a more, in professional games, has over a 2 in 3 chance of Terran. It's not really a chance, but 2 in 3 games are won by Terran. Most of the other maps are around even. Site Delta is slightly Zerg favored. So wide open, so many counterattack opportunities. But overall, just in an even money match. It is a longer series will have more Terran favored maps. That's just how it is. You know, I think most map makers historically and genetically are Terran, so they might be biased, in my opinion. Starport on the way. Now, this is the more typical Destiny Cloud Fist sort of build I've heard called in a fever dream from over half of Clem's life ago. Clem, 22 years old. Been playing StarCraft 2 since he was under the age of 10. Apparently, his dad got him into it. I wonder how he's feeling now. Probably either way. So first place gets $400,000, which is pretty good. Second place gets $150K, which is pretty good. But that is quite a disparity. So either way, I'm sure both these players who've been playing since... They've been playing on the professional scene since... I think age 16 was what was the requirement for WCS back in the day. I don't think we still have those same requirements, but if you are under the age of 16, welcome. And you still have a chance, all right? As Clem went from one of these, and historically players, when they first start out, the youngest players especially, are so aggressive. Their micro is so good, those Twitch reactions. And I'm not talking about those silly streamers, but instead, like, the sheer speed. And they rely on it so much, almost to a fault. And I think Clem, for many years, was just like that, where he was so good at microing, that's all he would do. So eventually you go up against players like Serral, who just know how to defend, and you run out of steam. But Clem has since filled out the rest of the buffalo there, and he uses everything Terran has to offer, which is some of the most efficient early, mid, and late game units. It also requires... Beautiful Brenda bounce. It also requires this inhuman attention to detail. But both these players have that, so... a single Zergling. Did he get any SCVs? He got one. We'll call that a win. That's something. A much more typical build here out of Serral. He's able to get his third base up. He's able to get his lair on the way. Baneling nest, baneling speed gonna be so important. And the 4th base already spotted. Hellions and a Reaper. The Queen. Susan, get out of the way! Shut up, Brenda! Shut up! Shut up! I know. Sorry, I blacked out for a moment. I think, at least. 2 Banshees, and they have cloak. He's pre-cloaking, so they're not spotted early enough. Lair isn't done! Oh no! Another queen down, but there's just... Clem played this perfectly. He drew the queens out. Lair isn't... Even though Serral went for a pretty quick lair, Clem held on until 2 Banshees, which is when it requires a much more direct response. Serral's already expanded to the southern side of this now. But delaying the 4th base is a main objective. Good counterattack, though, out of Serral. And this is the more typical weakness of this sort of Terran build, is you don't have enough units back at home to necessarily cover your bases, somewhat literally. But a handful of Zerglings, I mean, it's usually more than 2, but depends on how big your hands are. Not that big enough to like and subscribe. Banshee's coming in, getting more kills. Hellions still staying right at the edge of the creep. It really feels like Clem is firing on all cylinders right now. He's invented more cylinders to fire on at this point. How many? He's lost 2 SCVs. He only killed 4 drones, but delaying the 4th base. When you're going... the 4th base for Zerg is not just for economy. It's for production. It's the amount of larvae you're able to put on the field. And when you're going for especially a mass Ling Bane sort of strategy, you need every bit of larva you can get. Usually you have the resources. It's just you need to be able to spend them. So losing hatcheries or getting those delayed is another delay in all of that. But the Banelings are coming in, trapped in a prison of their own design. The Hellions and the SCVs obliterated. 12 workers dead. Clem will get the base in trade. He doesn't have combat shields done, and he hasn't started +2/+2, but he still does have a slight advantage. There's the +2 weapons. Marines jammed into the back corner. They have to stim again. Medevac comes up. Might help save the day. And the siege tank working for both sides there as it slams into the Zerglings and Marines alike. +2 weapons is started for Clem. Serral loses another 4th base. He even clears the critter. Murder! And is gonna jam the siege tanks behind the mineral line. And this is such a pain to dislodge here. Oh no, the queen's coming up. Susan, get in front! Targeting, well, he wants to get... Oh my god. 13 SCVs died to a counterattack. They're not dying! Well, those 2 Banelings just saved the entire game, I think. Clem killed 90 Zerglings. Serral got a pretty healthy chunk of SCVs as well as Marines there. So the actual units lost between both sides of that counterattack. But so not the end of the world for Serral, but he's not able to get that critical mass of Lings and Banes that just force Terran to sit at home behind their walls and their bunkers and their cowardly setups. This message brought to you by Big Queens. We prefer thick. Could you stop? Hero Marine over here. Big Gabe. Here in Spirit. Spirit also couldn't make it, as both of them just didn't make it this far, but more Marines. The creep spread is non-existent. He's barely got it outside the bases. Clem has kept such control. Could you not? Could you die already? We don't mind. Slams into the Banes. And the target... Oh, come on. This guy. And just when they get close, they get gunned back down. Counterattack. Handful of Zerglings. Couple more SCVs down. Serral's been doing a good job of keeping... Ooh, we don't mind hits the Terrans and Zerg alike. The Hydras and the Queens holding it together. Clem, still maintaining. He's got the supply advantage, he's got the upgrades, but... Oh, Serral just started an infestation pit. There's still... Oh, no! 3 more queens dead. The Marines slurp back up into the Medivacs. It's a series of incredibly unfortunate events here for Serral. Just when he starts to push things back, the rug gets pulled out from under him. Clem is keeping so much pressure on right now. It's so hard to efficiently deal with either side of this. Between the Widowmines, does he have drilling claws? He does, which means they remain cloaked after firing, and they burrow so quickly. Serral is the best in the world at actually clearing up those minefields. But Minecraft can be grating on anyone if they play for long enough. Marines coming in again. Clem, probably the only person in the world who sees like 8 banelings and says, oh, cool, target practice. Like, +3 on the way. Serral working up towards lurkers in a bit more comfortable position than the last game. Definitely more survivable. He's not relying on Roach Ravager, but instead on Hydraling Bane, which is a much more fluid composition that has a significantly better chance of keeping control of the map for long enough to get lurkers. Trying another base. That's going to be a no. Marines again. Watchtowers held. Banelings, the splits. More Zerglings coming in. Adrenal glands would be an incredible upgrade to have with this many Zerglings on the field. God, look at the positioning. Jams them on each side of the minerals. The Widow Mine. 3 Banelings make it and get hit by the siege tank. The combination factory units working in concert here, but it's a symphony that Serral does not want to listen to. Oh, another mine. Serral's struggling to get even close to 200 supply, whereas Clem now has a 4th and a 5th base. Serral's stuck on 4. The Marines are finally dead when the medevac runs out of energy. Just needs Caduceus Reactor. There are already ghosts on the way. He's adding Marauders in to help deal with that late game composition. The Marauders both for the lurkers, potentially. Help with the Banes, and if Serral decides to go Ultras. But he has the high ground, Serral. Don't try it. But you gotta do something. Viper's on the way. More Widowmines. Blinding Cloud just yanks the tank into the fray. Serral +3 about to complete. Even more efficient bio. He doesn't have enough for a parasitic bomb. Widowmine latches and connects from downtown. Marauders out in front. The ritual sacrifices for the Banelings if Serral doesn't meticulously control them past. And the fact that Clem is staying even on APM. 470, 480, pushing 500 on both sides. A Zerg player just naturally has higher APM because they're just more skilled in the brain. No. Making Zerglings and Banelings and just the amount of housekeeping you gotta do usually puts Zerg ahead. So that tells you how ridiculous it is that Clem is keeping up. More tanks down. Widowmine's cleared up. But this is all happening because Clem is resetting his... Oh my god, he has another army. He's resetting his army composition into a much more late-game army. Ghosts. Upgraded... Well, he's got planetaries. Sensor towers across the board. A bunch of Marauders added in to make things difficult. This is what I mean by the full-bodied Clem here. Which... Are we doing phrasing? But... Not the Clem who's reliant on these timings. He's just so good at them, they usually work. But he doesn't have to win with them. He now has smoothly and almost imperceptibly transitioned into an army that is even more difficult to beat. He's got a fusion core on the way, though. Well, I don't think it's for battle cruisers. One can dream. Almost certainly for, you know what I would really love? Caduceus Reactor first. Energy regen for the medevacs, though I suspect it's going to be for advanced blitz. He sniped the back lurkers first, which may or may not have been a good idea. Serral. Parasitic bomb of the medevacs. Clem doesn't micro away in time. He's actually losing a lot of them. Serral finally striking back. But another drop is going to pop a hatchery. Well, typical group project. One Marauder does all the work and the rest take the credit. A Infestor. Fungal. Is there time to follow it up? Widow Mine slams the point home. The Queen's trying to help out. A lurker over here will kill that, the offending marauder. And Serral's starting to build up money, starting to stabilize. Advanced ballistics on the way for the Liberators. It has been all Clem all the time, but Serral has survived, and now he's starting to consume the map. The creep spread is just... He's done such a great job keeping control of it. Serral with no creep spread at all, despite the fact Serral didn't go for a big queen all-in this time. He's been trying, he just hasn't gotten it anywhere. And you can usually gauge the state of the game by the creep spread in these sort of macro games, because Zerg players of this caliber are always going to be pushing it as far as they can. It's such a big deal, both for vision and for speed, and for the Queen's peace of mind, of course. But the ghosts, he just has 13 ghosts. Who you gonna call, Serral? Infestors are the closest thing you'll get to the Ghostbusters, but right now there are 5 orbital commands. Advanced ballistics isn't done, so Clem actually pulls the Liberator back. I think he's gonna wait. There are some spots where you simply can't hit the Liberator unless you use a Viper to abduct. There's already a Spire in the way. He EMPs the Ghost the Infestor while burrowed. The Vipers pull out the Liberator. Another drop. The Marines deal with it. He's already got a command center standing by to take the gold base. 52 Zerglings in production. But now we got a game on our hands. This series so far has been the Clem show with Serral trying to keep up. But now Serral's on the warpath. He's got the Hydraslings and Banes, and he's got money in the bank. He's not just gonna throw units away, but he has weight to throw around. As long as he doesn't throw the gate. 3 more Vipers, +1 fire attack, running the Zerglings by to trigger the mines. Clem unburrows the mines, reburrows, big hits. Choke point is difficult to break through. Banelings close the distance, and he knocks out the planetary. There should be burrow. Maybe he tries. Wait, yes, he does have burrow. But Liberators takes out some more Banelings. The Ghost surprisingly not vulnerable to him, as they are not light units. Infestor comes in. The fungal lands, and the medevacs say, and? Did he get Caduceus Reactor behind? He didn't. But the medevacs still have plenty of energy. Serral drops 30 supply. He hasn't added any lurkers in, despite having, well, he's had a few lurkers. Vipers are gone. Infestor from the back, but again. And the medevacs hold it together. Energy's nearly gone now. But so are Serral's units. Look at the supply. It's a disaster. Clem has turned an even money game back around. The upgrades aren't done. There's not even enough money for Serral to remax out. He's lost 8,000 more. Almost entirely minerals. Serral's so efficient with the gas. But Serral has not been able to mine nearly as much as you'd like. The Liberator siege up. Transfusius +2 plating. The Hydra's getting in the way of each other. The escape Nidus from Serral. A beautiful play, but not enough. And now Clem taking another base. He is playing, this is the best. I've seen Clem play some ridiculously good series, some ridiculously good games. But somehow, he's ratcheted it up another level. He's now got all those building upgrades you usually see in Bronze League heroes more than pro matches. The Infestor pops up, throws out a fungal. The Marines laugh in the face of the Banelings. While firing, of course. Widow mines. And Serral? He's taking these fights. He's landing the fungals, but it's not coming together. He's barely holding on to his bases. Well, not even all of them. Just some of them. Zerglings come in. Widow mine slams home. Liberators joined in. Now it's mines and ghosts and Liberators. Clem has taken the bottom left corner, but Serral has kind of brawled his way back across the map. If this becomes a planetary, though, it's... Yeah, sure, Banelings can help dislodge it, but Banelings are not cheap. Each Baneling costs more than a Marine. 25 Vespine gas apiece. Now a Venn diagram of freedom with those Liberators. And the Viper. It's That Clem's just laying it on. The creep spread's gone. Like, he's not slipping. Here comes the infester, and then, GG, Clem 2. Uh-oh. Serral managed to claw his way into a position. He had all his tools. But it wasn't enough. Clem is just keeping the pressure on. And Serral feeling overcooked right now. God, he's playing so well. Like, this is theoretical territory. We're in late stage StarCraft 2, where players have figured out the absolute limits of each unit, and then somehow broken those limits several times over to get here. The little details that I'm sure we're missing most of, with so much happening on both sides. Like little unburrows in the Widow Mines, there's retargeting happening. Just where he decides to send his units. Playing both like a strategy game and a MOBA and a base builder all at the same time. From the very first Reaper to the final engagements, Clem in control of the match. Serral unable. It's the Serral Festers, which he's gotten nerfed several times since the last time these two faced in a grand finals. The Infester. The Infester now takes longer to unburrow and does less damage with that fungal. Though it does have slightly more range, which, as you can see, Serral not having a problem with landing the fungals. It's just the timing of following them up is so difficult. Also, Widow Mines now have that targeting indicator, which I think was a long time in coming. And they no longer are by default cloaked after firing. You need drilling claws. But also, their splash damage radius was reduced pretty significantly. Like 25% or so, 1.75 to 1.5. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about that nerf. I feel like against Serral, Widow Mines were helping Serral a lot of the time more than the Terran. Maybe not Clem, but with a smaller radius, you still hit a lot of Zerg, but less likely to find collateral damage. So we've seen Clem embracing kind of the mixed mech, the bio-curious compositions, with a whole lot of factory units and starport units added in that late game. Tanks and Widow Mines. So that way you can use all those little corners and nooks and crannies to jam in the tanks, and then have the Widow Mines to kind of sandbag the open field. And that sort of mixed mech composition, alongside, of course, the ridiculously good Marine Micro, makes it feel almost hopeless for Zerg at some points if you're doing your job right. And right now, Clem, best in his field. Ghost River. Felt like last game was Ghost River, but here we are. Brenda, Brenda, why are you out there? Shut up, Susan. Sometimes I wanted to feel the fresh air on my tentacles. You're really weird, Brenda. Shut up, Susan. Well, no third base. Another map where it's difficult to take a third for the Zerg. He's doing almost this is the same build as game number 1. He wouldn't do it again. He wouldn't try the queen drop again. Obviously, that's something it kind of felt.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Man the harpoons! The Reaper is dead! Finally. The Reaper is killed off. No Overlord speed. No Overlord speed, if you would. I wouldn't, but... So... Well, on this map, you can kind of just walk the queens across, as it's such a short distance between the ramps. You can mosey on over there. I wouldn't be surprised. Looks like Serral is sending out Overlords, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's dropping creep with them. He got the drone. There's only one place to take a third. So you know where the drone's gonna go. Oh, no! Oh! Serral scouted what this is. He knows he's up against the bioplay. He's been so delayed, though. The army supply is 21 to 51. I don't know if Clem's really seen the magnitude of roaches and ravagers that are about to come across, but he's gonna spot them a split second before roach speed is done. So Clem may be a bit ambitious taking his third base. Well, the roaches and ravagers, but if he pulls the boys, this certainly could get more difficult. We'll see. The Marines are dodging back. They don't have the range. The SCVs are pulled off the line. He splits. He stems. And now, well, the Ravagers are targeted down. 11 SCVs dead. Remember, Serral cut heavily into his economy to try this. And the Marines are doing too much damage. Well, more... Oh, he's got a tank. The second round looked like it might be enough. If Clem did not have that tank... Brenda, what are you doing? There's no going back. Well, he was right. The siege tank retargeting onto the juicy roaches, which it has bonus damage against. Combat shield is now done. Clem hasn't dipped enough in SCVs to really hurt his economy, especially considering the mules, which are worth about 5 SCVs apiece. No, that's no. Oh. It's a disaster. This feels like it went worse than game 1. He tried another roach timing, but again, Clem reached for the double barracks play, which is just so well positioned to deal with this. Again, Serral tried to catch him off guard, but Clem was more than ready to parry it. And this is simply a composition that doesn't age well. Those roaches, you can build a lot of them, which is why when you have the supply disadvantage against a Terran and you only have roaches, it is certainly not a good place to be. The maybe saving grace here is that Clem didn't start his upgrades until after the fight, which means that Serral won't have a massive deficit in upgrades, but it's notable, and I'm noting it right now. +1 Carapace is all Serral has in production. Trying to sneak out. And the drops, of course, have the run of the place. Or do they? As the Queen's well positioned to deal with that specifically. But it's up... almost. Oh, he gets the drop. Gonna look to shut down the creep spread out at the front. We'll do so. 3 roaches, but there's a tank on the high ground, right? Nope. Oh, eats a couple corrosive balls on one medevac. But picks up into those medevacs again. And Serral, he needs to live. But it feels like he's gotten both of his legs chopped off, let alone getting up onto the wrong foot here. In most of these games, but this one in particular. He's building some infestors. He's up to 67 drones. It's so weird seeing Serral being so desperate on the defense, but here we are. Hive on the way, still very quick, despite oh, that's a lot of Terran. Picks up a drop, and divide and conquer here. As in medium-sized groups, that bio army, oh, the infestors are spotted by the medevacs. He's already adding in some more tanks. and marauders. So, going to be well equipped to deal with a more late game composition. 3 more barracks on the way. Really just diligently clearing that creep. The creep sweeper. Concussive. Oh, that's not enough. Roaches? Yeah, Clem knows exactly how many roaches you need to defend this, and that is not nearly enough. He guns down the roaches, gets the drones, picks up, gets out. And comes back in and shakes it all about. And now in the main, we'll drag the units back as another drop is at the front ready to clear the creep. And the queens on their own aren't going to be enough. And 2 out of 4 taken out. Scans the front, clearing more and more creep. He's just doing it right now. Misses the mark on the corrosive belt. Fungo catches 1 medevac. Group spawn's done. Serral's clawed his way back into it. And now adding even more claws to the army. Thing is, though, again, Clem is not stuck on this mid-game composition. He's building ghosts. He has so many tanks. Target fire on the infestors. Gets 1 good fungal. Another one. Takes out the tank. No planetary here, but a drop at the back is hitting again. And there's enough to ward it away, but that means less forces concentrated at the front and less ability to break through Clem's fort. And in fact, Clem very much recognizing that, chases down the Hydras and the supply plummeting. He's losing fights on both fronts. GG! 3-0 for Clem. Well, oh my. Well, at least we're going to the map most of my viewers, and most of you out there should empathize with. Post-youth. Will be game 4, where Serral needs to turn this... It's not. I don't know. I got nothing on this. This is we are in very much unexplored territory here. Nobody beats Serral like this. Might have to revise that statement. Even when Clem has beaten Serral before, it has not looked like this. It has been a late game drawn out or like crazy timings, and usually Clem kind of trying to get an advantage early and working with it. But this is Serral trying to beat Clem early and looking very shaky later in the game. And I almost feel like Clem's been sandbagging a bit. He's had in like online tournaments, which how much can we read into those? Serral, of course, not playing in any online tournaments or anything, as he's currently serving his obligatory Finnish military service, but they do let him come to tournaments and stuff. He's like in a special sports school. That's a whole deal. It hasn't seemed to affect him until now. You're in the grand finals of the biggest tournament in the history of StarCraft 2. But Clem, I talk about peaks and valleys as a mountaineer myself. No. But on the very best, Clem probably has the highest peak of any player in StarCraft 2. But he doesn't have, or historically hasn't had, the consistency of Serral. He even blocked that base at the SCV. The Reaper wasn't quite there in time, thankfully, but this is... I mean, there is no... How many ways can I rephrase? No one beats Serral like this. I've seen Serral in matches to Clem before. You get the, like I said, those crazy late games. So sometimes some builds don't work out. Serral's lost in ZVZ occasionally in the past, and that's ZVZ, right? Which, I think doesn't really need any more explanation. But Clem is playing like the best player in the world right now. And this is the time to do it. It feels like Clem has been waiting. Not really waiting, but like, it's been his time for a while now. It's just never really let it. DreamHack Atlanta last year. He had a great tournament. Didn't look dominant, but he looked like the best. He barely, well, pretty decisively, but in a difficult run, made his way to the championship. Serral, on the other hand, since that tournament, has been dominating. I am Katowice. DreamHack, was it Atlanta in the spring? Dallas. All right. All tournaments are held in Texas. Hell yeah, brother. Honestly, I predicted that Clem would be like a round of 8, maybe Final 4 sort of player, but probably, as he has in the past, struggle either against Protoss, as a lot of Terrans have a weak spot there. They have a weak spot in one of their matchups, TVZ or TVP. But here we are. Serral with a great block. Doesn't get anything, though. All he does is keep his drones alive. And I think a big question mark for Serral is he's tried kind of both flavors of Zerg. He's tried the dark, YOLO, Roach style. He's tried his trademark late game macro, and he's not finding anything. So he's at 60 drones. This is your macro. This map, despite its relatively small size, there's a lot of open space, a lot of opportunity to do counterattacks and hit the Terran. Not a bad map for Zerg, especially if you're able to get your economy up and running. And so far, Clem has allowed him to do so. He's got that double drop loaded up. The 3-2-1-1. Invented by his spiritual father, Beyond. The greatest Marine aficionado and world champion. Almost 10 years ago when he beat Dark. Oh my, I'm old. I'm post-youth. The Queens do a lot of damage to one of the medevacs, but need more than just the Queens alone. Really wants to keep that base alive, but you can't always get what you want. And sometimes you can't even get that when you've driven the Marines away. You accidentally made an Evo chamber there to protect the drone. Maybe not accidental. Going with the Roaches again. I think the reason he's not going with Lingbane is Clem just won't get hit. Like, historically, we've seen Lingbane into your ultra late game, maybe literally ultra late game, but Clem just doesn't get hit by Banes. Like, it just doesn't happen. Not in any sort of meaningful way. That is, he's just not going to mess it up. And I think that's why we see so many players favoring the Roach Ravager style, because you need some range to deal with the dudes with drugs and guns. Just like, for many similar reasons, I like to keep a good range from my neighbors. Hell yeah, brother. Hive's on the way. 6.5 minute hive. It doesn't get much quicker than that. That's about the fastest hive you could get while doing anything else. Especially while still trying to expand and get upgrades and all of that. One on the way, so we'll have a slight advantage. Very slight. Starts as +2 Carapace and +1 melee will be the choice. And most importantly, the gold base is on the way. Actually completed here for Serral. So we will have an income advantage. And that really does help out a lot. It's going to be an ultra game. Yeah. He doesn't have a Hydra Den. He doesn't have a Spire. This is mass Lingbane, and I would not be the least bit surprised to see Ultralisks. When you have a better economy, use them as a battering ram to blast down the door, chop through. Get off my crit! Son of a... Medevac escapes. There's the Ultra Cavern. There's the Adrenal... I'm sorry. There's the Adrenal... Yes, thank you. Those Hive Tech upgrades. And Clem really didn't make up any ground with these medevacs. The creep spread is over halfway across the map, which doesn't take much, but here we are. Serral in his best position in 4 games. Bailing speed is on the way. Gold base will be landed for Clem. Serral taking a 5th. Infestor looking for an opportunity. Bio looking to deny said opportunity. Does he even have a Ghost Academy? He does. Any ghosts on the field? No, none yet, which means with all these spellcasters, Serral is in a great position to break the 4th and start really cracking open the Terran like a hard-boiled egg. Or a soft-boiled egg. Or just like a regular egg. It doesn't really matter. 5 Dropper Lords on the way. Parasitic Bomb. That's a very difficult location to fight into. Parasitic Bomb does not stack, but it also will always run out its duration. So even if you move the medevac away or it dies, the Parasitic Bomb will remain in place. Does a decent amount of damage throughout. Not enough to kill a medevac, obviously, but Terrans are pretty notoriously stingy with repairing them. 2-2 about to complete. Clem now with a slight upgrade advantage, kind of. It's 1-1 attack upgrades as well as +2 carapace for Serral. Another command center trying to cancel it, but he's just going to lose all his roaches. I don't know, Kev. Well, that frees up supply 54 Zerglings and an Ultralisk. Chitinous plating on the way. Dropper Lords heading into the main. There's no sensor tower here. Serral, Operation Overlord, gonna land on the beaches of the Frenchmen and try to establish a foothold. Will it be enough? Yanks in a tank. Blinding Cloud could be devastating in that particular position. Parasitic Bomb. Queen's involved here. The Dropper Lords are still just waiting. Don't know what he's waiting for. He wants to line up the timing. Almost hits the legally distinct panda creatures that are celebrating with the corpses of Terran. I can empathize. The Moopies. But the Dropper Lords are coming in. And Clem, he already had his reinforcements in position to deal with it. He evacuated some of the SCVs at the base. Here come the Lings and Banes again. Medevacs are badly bruised, but a Blinding Cloud is used. No Parasitic Bomb means the Medevacs will surprise, and he doesn't kill the Planetary. 21 SCVs dead. Serral's at 90 drones, and he winds up for another round. Like, half of Clem's army is in the main base. Stuck, waiting for its opportunity. Well, I mean, he took out the Dropper Lords, but... Now, that certainly didn't go great for Serral, but he still has half the map. Clem's still struggling to really get anything out there. The creep spread lackluster to the north side. 2 more command centers on the way, as that's sort of your investment for the ultra late game. This time, no puns intended, but... Snipes out, pops that Infestor. Pops that Ultra just the same. Corrosive Bout takes out a medevac. Upgrades continuing on both sides. +3 attack for Clem. Does not have the armor on the way. We got +3 carapace for Serral. Here to take the hits and then dish them out later. +2 melee is completed as well. +3 begins immediately. Armor upgrade for Clem starts now. As both sides going back to their corners. Serral with some more corners than Clem at this point. Serral inspired. Double spire on the way. Building armor for Clem. As both sides have armies that are very dangerous in the right position. Oh. Pops an infester. And whatever else gets within range of snipe. He has another army ready, but he has 3 medevacs ready to pick it up, but he's actually looking the other way. Finally a mistake out of Clem. The banelings crash in and take out a bunch of the bio. Clem's replacing it immediately, but Serral's building up a bank. And so far has been quite efficient with it. Well, I say that, and then I realize he's lost almost double the resources. So not that much in the grand scheme of things. Pretty similar on the gas as well. Much more valuable. 94 drones means that Serral's army supply is maxed out at 106, unless he does some fancy maneuvering and manipulation there. So, overall, Clem only has 63 SCVs, which means he has an extra 30 army supply to throw around. Oh god, the siege tanks annihilating banelings. Beautiful target fire, starting to look very much like the Heart of the Swarm cinematic. Oh, no. He almost shut down his own Viper. Serral, a misclick there. Not something I say often, or ever. Viper's coming in again. Clem is doing... He's doing such a great job of provoking fights in the right spot, so that way he doesn't... Like, he's playing zone defense so well right now. He's keeping the Zerg back far enough that he always has a little bit of extra warning before the units can get to his base. Because that's when they get really damaging. When the banelings and the ultras are on top of the planetary, they're going to get damaged. Whether it's your army or your economy, it doesn't matter. The Zerglings come in. The siege tank, they're saying, what is this? Look at this campaign. This is a campaign mission. It's... What? Oh my god. This is literally, except you're the, I can't tell if you're the, in the campaign, or you're the Zerg or the Terran in this one. Well. Oh my. There are 10 orbital commands, which means he has scans at every moment he could want them and then meals to boot. You only need 5 orbitals to always have a scan if you use it the moment the other one ends. Now that allows him to have multiple. And the biggest danger to his army are the infestors. The infestors popping up. Serral has taken so many bases. Serral has 8 hatcheries. And almost all of those on location. I don't think he has a single macro hatch. Like, not a single extra hatch that isn't a potentially mining base. So he's got 8 bases overall. The income is in his favor, though not by as much as I'm sure he'd like. He's got money in the bank. But the EMP. The ghosts. We're having a field day with it. Ultra's driven back. As Serral, the mules drop. And, Jimmy, please. Just... moment. You'll know it when you see it. No, not yet. It'll be worth it, trust me. It's not nearly as decisive as I thought it would be. We'll check back to that. Oh my god, there's just planetaries in the middle of everything. Pops another Viper. Pops some more Ultras. Now, almost no matter where he goes. Okay, it wasn't nearly as much as I thought, but still, 10 mules dropping. Clears out another base. He's slow pushing it. This is a tower defense game. And he's able to fly his towers across the map, plop them down, and upgrade them into super towers. And behind it, highly specialized sniper rifles that also can wipe out your energy. I'm sure Serral right now, he's making his spire great again. Brood Lords, certainly an option. Unfortunately, Ghosts. Serral has more minerals in the bank. He has all these bases, but the gas is not nearly as much of a disparity, about even on the gas bank. And there's not much you can do with just minerals and Zerg. Queens and Zerglings are good. Not so much against planetaries and ghosts. Oh my. Like, he has sensor towers covering the entire, well, 3/4 of the map now. That is... Neural Parasite on the way, Serral at 201 supply for a moment. I don't know. Like, Clem's just not slipping. He's grabbed onto the center of the map. Serral now using Niduses to get around any of his bases. Oh, EMP hits the Vipers before they can do anything. Here come the Broodlords, but there are 24 ghosts! Oh my god. "24 ghosts. A Ventria scan. He's not going to be caught off guard by infestors. Impossible to be caught off guard between sensor towers literally everywhere and scans everywhere else. How many orbitals now? 10. Ultra dead. Hydras, Lings, and Banes. 13 infestors. Infestor Broodlord. Ah, yes. The more things change, the more things stay the same. If you haven't yet, or if this triggers a long-lost memory for you, Nestea versus MVP. The BlizzCon finals of, I want to say, 2011, which is about 35 years ago at this point. Half of Clem's life, at least. But the Broodlords, the ghosts... Broodlords, not nearly the fearsome creatures, and Infestors, not the oppressive units underneath. And the micro has just gotten so much better. I don't know. I mean, it's literally the last unit, I guess, besides Swarm Host, maybe. But I've never seen 200 supply look so impotent. Clem is making it look like he will rule this sector, or see it burnt to ashes before him. Speaking of which, haven't even seen a nuke in production, unfortunately, but he doesn't seem to need it. Snipes off another queen. Serral tries the left side with the Broodlords. No ghost there. Clem trying to slowly but surely grab these bases. He now has more money in the bank. Where are the infestors? They come in, EMPs, but there's another group of ghosts. He has 2 groups of ghosts. Oh god, some of those ghosts getting canceled harder than StarCraft ghosts there, but the vast majority survive. Fusion core on the way. 3 Thors as well, just to back it up. Also strong against the Broods, though not so much against Neural Parasite. I think the best chance right now is Neural Parasiting the ghosts and then EMPing all the other ghosts. Which Serral did research Neural Parasite, and I think that's the direction he wants to go with it. Unfortunately, Clem is diligently and religiously scanning right now. I have more scans than a Costco checkout counter at rush hour, which is all the hours at Costco. Alright, please sponsor me, but... The Broodlords are sieging, but the ghosts still getting snipes. Serral, that's Infestors at the back. He picks up the ghosts, evading the fungal. And he makes some progress, but the Vipers are left behind. Oh, goes a little far forward. Eats some Banes, taken out by the Hydra. 70 Zerglings in production. I know not. Well, this war will be fought with ghosts and Broodlords, but the next one could be Zerglings, Queens against Marines. If this goes on long enough. Escape Nidus for Zerglings. Unfortunately, they kind of blocked each other from getting into the Nidus, which is difficult. Six more Broods on the way. The banks are about even. Clem still has the army supply. It's still 23 ghosts, 6 Thors, a dozen tanks, 1 Marauder, and 3 Marines. As he's replaced all those weak and malleable bio units with the fancier versions and a bunch of mech. The Broodlords helping out siege tanks, just as dangerous to Terran units as they are to Zerg, especially when those Broodlings drop down. Oh, here come the rest of the ghosts. And he lines up that he can't get a fungal over that angle. Oh no, the ghosts are getting their shot. He does get 1 fungal to interrupt. The Thor's on the back line. Is there enough energy left on the infestors? Maybe? Serral losing a lot of ground. Even one of the siege tanks survives. A bunch of changelings in the mix there. Another queen goes down. And, over the last 2 minutes, which is what this battle report is of, Clem's still more efficient. Though, not the worst fight. I don't know if Serral... Has he mined more? He's mined 13,000 more minerals. And about 1,000 more gas. Unfortunately, he's lost 16,000 more minerals. Oh, and he lost so many overseers, he has to rebuild them. He's supply blocked. 24 minutes in the game. The Thor's getting surrounded. The infestors are burrowed. Neuroparasite, a real threat. Morlings and Banes coming through. He can't break this position. The Planetary, 22 kills. Siege Tank, 62 kills. The Ghosts, I'm sure racking them up in there, though less likely to get dozens of kills. The Ghosts, a lot of them taken out. They're dramatic deaths, but Clem, it feels like he realizes Serral's on the ropes right now. Even though Serral has money in the bank, he's out of larva. He pulled all his queens to the front, and now he just doesn't have the larva from his bases. Clem has comfortably gotten his entire side of the map. He has at least half the map now, but he doesn't have any gas in the bank. Serral, no lurker den. He just builds 8 ultras. As a arguably great man once said, Hydra, when I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I build ultraless. They've been buffed half a dozen times since then. But that is such like it. The Olympic rings of freedom here. Advanced ballistics on the way. Ghosts and liberators and siege tanks just choking the field. Serral is cut off, isolated from his outlying bases yet again. And Clem is pushing him back up against the wall. The Ghosts retreat behind the lines. The pin-cushioning liberators. Microbial shroud used to... Well, it doesn't do anything against the Ghosts. Clem holds and fires back and takes 4 in a row, which would be enough to win any world championship pretty much except for this one. Serral now has to win 5 in a row, which, if anyone could, he's got to go back to the spawning pool. Clem is. I have spoken. 4. Match point. $400,000. Clem needs 1 more game. And this, unfortunately for the rest of us, this has not looked like one of those where every game's been shaky, but it's just broken Clem's way. No, Serral has broken, and it's been Clem's way. And that is the story of this series. He has solved Serral. This is probably the best map for Zerg we've had so far. Not a great... I mean... I don't know. It's not the maps. Like... It's hard... It's hard to explain how well Clem's playing. I don't think Serral's making big mistakes. As one, Serral doesn't do that, but... He's tried several different angles, several different trajectories for his builds. And every single one of them, even last game, getting most of the map, getting the full Zerg unit composition. I feel like Dark would have better success against Clem because Dark is just so unreadable and so chaotic. Serral has just always been this big brother sort of player. He knows what you're doing before you're doing it, and he's already reacting. The problem is Clem now has that same power with better micro and some of the most microable units in the game. You can only micro Zergling so much. Ghosts, Reapers, Liberators on the other hand. The ceiling is almost impossible to fathom. And speaking of fathoms, Oceanborn. Clem blocking the third with an SCV, making it more difficult. Though Serral just going for your generic ling speed. He could go for the other base as well, which is not usually his favored. Makes it a little easier to do tank pushes early on. Makes the fourth base more vulnerable and doesn't really cover you from drops. But this is a message from the Hatchery Owners Association, the HOA, Reaper. Okay, we've had enough every single game. You come over here and you poke and you prod and you harass our workers, and we won't put up with it anymore. You will be stopped. You in what army? Third base for Serral. Going to be a 1-1-1. Clem, he seems to have studied Serral as well. He knows all the little tells. He did a double barracks build. I don't know how much of it was a lucky break and how much of it is reading Serral. But he did the double barracks build. Both times Serral was going for the two base aggression. And he was committed to it before he knew for sure, at least by most tells. But the Zergling speed comes out. He loses the Reaper. But the Hellions still poking. It's going to be Banshees. And I also want to note, not a single game of the relatively popular double Reaper build so far. No two barracks wall at the front. The build, it isn't the most common style, but almost always we see it at least once in a series, even best of 3. So, very interesting that Clem hasn't bothered with it even once. Like, there has been no attempt to go for those early Reapers, but instead, progressing his tech further and faster. Layers on the way very quick here. Anticipating the Banshee, Overlord wandered in and saw everything with its beady eyes and its many tentacles. Banshee just patrolling around, looking for the fourth base. Clem prioritizing the infrastructure, prioritizing the progression of the Zerg. Because Zerg is, it's like an avalanche sometimes. If you get going, it's almost impossible to stop. Though he did a pretty good job of slowing it down last game, despite Serral's economy. The focus is clearly on making sure Serral doesn't get enough economy early to overrun Clem before he has all his infrastructure up, before he has 5 barracks up and running, before he has a third base comfortably sat down and saturated. He's doing everything he can to keep that creep spread at bay, keep tabs on the bases. Sometimes that means darting in, trying to get some damage done with the Hellions. Sometimes that means just sitting back on the edge of the creep and slapping down any creep tumors that get a bit ambitious. Queens are spotted.
Brenda! Oh my god! Susan, why are you standing there?
Right up. Queens attacking each other.
Get out of the way!
A 1-1's on the way. Clem was a slight advantage. Stim completed. Baneling speed's on the way. Serral, 78 drones, 6.5 minutes. It doesn't really get any better than that. Like, he hasn't taken much damage. Gonna take a bit here. Queens. Just that one spot without creep, of course. Now the first tank push coming out. Trying to line it up with the 1-1. He's going to sit at the edge of the creep. Baneling speed is done. If he catches this army before the tanks are able to siege, he has to cancel a bunch of the banelings, though, just a little bit late. And, like, the creep spread not being far enough to jump that army makes all the difference here. He's going to go for a tank, but the Marines kind of having a field day with all the Zerglings as they get tied up on the tank. The Banshees are still lurking in the back corner, and I'm sure Clem's aware of it. He's waiting for his moment. He's only lost a Reaper, well, and that tank so far. The creep tumor dead on arrival. But banelings from both sides. Back into the Medivacs tank. The baneling's too close to get anything done there, but combat shield is now completed. 1-1's done, and these Marines just got way more dangerous. Fourth base, just gonna put some pressure on. Queen's coming down to deal with it, and Clem, ooh, losing a few extra Marines as looking the other way. But wait, there's more. And, oh no, he gunned down the Overseer, which means there's no detection to stop these Banshees. Will he just target the base? No, he's just gonna go for the Queens. Another Overseer's already on the way. Burrow, Serral still holding. Does he have the hive done? Yes. He hasn't started the hive upgrades yet. That'll change right now. Adrenal gland's on the way. He's got his 2-2, not too far behind his French counterpart. And more Marines. Picked up, gets out. Clem takes the supply lead as his production is now online. He's got 2 factories, 5 barracks. Does he have a 4th command center? He's floating it over now. He's got 71 SCVs. He's building the Octo Rex as well. 6, 7, and 8 barracks on the way. He has not missed a singular beat in his production. And with that many beats hit, he can drop the base. So many Marines on the field right now. This will probably be the high water mark for Marines as he shifts his composition into those more effective late game units. But the Marines still so strong at this stage. Splits and stems. Single Marine out in front. Try to draw some extra units in. Serral playing careful. But there's not much time for caution. A massive amount of link bait, but he loses the hatch. Oh, the Widow Mine's underneath. Big bites. And some of the Marines actually thrown into the fire as well. Drops them out, doesn't pick them quite up in time. Hydra Den is on the way. Looks like Serral wants to try Lurkers this time, or just Hydras themselves. They're a bit late on it. Just now getting the Hydra Den. No other Hive Tech, no Ultra Cavern, no attempt at a Greater Spire. Just the Vipers and Langbane, though, are a great combination. 2-2 just finished, though, for Clem. He has an upgrade advantage going into this fight. Widowmine slam into the Overseers, which is quite unfortunate and a little bit ironic. Carapace level 2, but Clem still, again, for the 5th game in a row, keeping control of Serral. Serral holding on to his bases for now. He's caught up in the upgrades. Working on ranged attack. Clem has drops in 2 to 3 different locations, depending on how you want to count it. +1 vehicle plating done. 5th base, already floating over. Oh my. Drone dead. And he's going for the hatch again. Widowmine takes a huge chunk from the back line. Don't expect some of us in the wreckage, brother. Leaves a few behind. Another huge Widowmine hit. But Clem will be forced away. The medevacs in the back corner. The queens! Not able to get it. The Zerglings actually retreat from the base. Still anchored. Oh my god, the Banshees are back. The Banshees are still alive. Picks up some more. There's another mine. Oh no. I don't know if he retargeted or Serral just missed the right one, but is he gonna yank him over? Do it. Get off my creep! Cathartic, but short-lived. Much like many of these Lings and Banes, and not in a good way. Another push over to the right flank. The Widowmine smashing into the Zerg. Serral at 201 over 200 supply, but he needs 300 to fight with this. The Widowmines again, trying to draw the shots into the Terran, but it's just not there, and by the time he closes the distance, he's able to pick up and get out. Serral, unable to find that decisive moment. He's gonna try a big counterattack, sandbagged heavily by the mines. A few Zerglings may get into the mineral line. The Viper's gonna try something. 3-3, not quite done yet for Clem. The Marauders, the Marines, against the Lings and Banes. Serral doesn't want to risk going forward when there could be mines behind, but the Vipers are taken out. He doesn't even kill the medevacs. 7 SCVs dead, I think, to the Zerglings. Not that, honestly, Clem could afford to lose a few. The Banelings attempting it. The Lurker Den's on the way. Another few Zerglings trickle in. They managed to get through into the middle line. No tank on the high ground this time around. 3-3's now done for the Bio Army, making it extra dangerous. He has an upgrade advantage. +3 carapace for Serral at least. Fusion core on the way. Serral continues trying to expand, but Clem just tamping down on everything so far. Lurker Den is nearly complete. Not that Lurkers are necessarily the saving grace here. If it was just mines and bio, sure. But against Ghosts and Liberators, as well as even upgraded planetaries, misses the Infestor with the scan. So there's a dream. There's a chance. If he's able to catch the Ghosts, he doesn't get through the rocks, unfortunately. There's 5 orbitals, not enough to just scan forever. No, the Vipers! No! Of all the things. Oh, this is like, that is the best it could ever get. Oh, he scans on top of his own. I mean, Serral's played that card too many times for Clem to not suspect it. The fungal comes through, and then Serral beaten back on the left, beaten down on the right, barely able to make any progress up the center. Down goes one hatch. Clem winning the fight on the right flank. 400,000. Just throwing that one in there. EMP, a little late. Parasitic Bomb quarantines the medevac. Micro's back. Lings trying to split. Banelings, not enough. Lings can't close the distance. He's trying to fight this army again, but Clem is still keeping it together on both fronts. And Serral is falling apart. Hydra's gone down. There's just no army to deal with it. He keeps sending everything, and it's not enough. The firing squad, the snipes, JJ, 5 games in a row, 4 $400,000 and a world champion, Clem. After a decade of professional StarCraft 2, he's won tournaments in the past. But on the biggest stage, against the best player, this was not a close series. And unfortunately for us, it wasn't a back and forth. There was a clear and decisive victor, a clear and decisive champion. Incredibly and unequivocally well-deserved. The best StarCraft 2 I have ever seen. And I think by quite a margin. And speaking of margins, Clem will be increasing that in his bank account by a significant one as well. $400,000. World champion. Congratulations to Team Liquid's Clem. 22 years old. A long time coming. And it all came together. I don't know what the future holds for StarCraft 2. We don't really have much of a roadmap from here on out. There's a lot of other games coming out. Or already out in some fashion. But, there's nothing like it. Maybe I'm set in my ways in my age, my post-youth. But it's only getting better. So I hope we get some more. I hope you enjoy. I hope it made your day just a little bit better. And it'd be awesome. Check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. So hopefully you enjoyed watching. Congratulations to the world champion, Clem.
Hell.
Thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.